Caitlin Clark just finished one of the most important games in this entire World Cup qualifying run. 7 points, 7 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, and only 1 turnover the whole game. And the people out there calling that a bad performance, they are completely missing what actually happened on that court. Because the question nobody in mainstream media wants to sit down and answer honestly is not how Clark played. The real question is why the coaching staff of the most talented women's basketball team on the planet decided to play their best point guard at power forward. And when you actually understand the answer to that question, it is going to completely change how you see everything that happened in that game. Stay with me until the end of this video, because you are going to find out the one number in Clark's box score that every analyst has been explaining wrong. You are going to find out exactly which coaching decision handed Spain an advantage they never could have created on their own. And most importantly, you are going to understand why what happened to Caitlin Clark in this game is not just a basketball story. It is something much bigger than that. And it is going to affect the future of this entire sport. Quick note before we get into it. Everything you are about to hear comes from publicly available data, official FIBA statistics, and analysis of the actual game footage. This channel has no affiliation with Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever, or the WNBA. We are not here to pick sides. We are here to look at what the numbers are actually saying, not what the headlines want you to believe. All opinions in this video are for analysis and informational purposes. We respect every player in this conversation. Now, let us get into it. This is a World Cup qualifying game. The stakes are real. Team USA is facing Spain, the only team in this entire tournament with a frontcourt physical enough to actually impose their will on the American roster. Interim head coach Nate Tibbetts puts out this lineup: Chelsea Gray, Kelsey Plum, Jackie Young, Dearica Hamby, and Caitlin Clark. On paper, that lineup looks terrifying. 5 elite players, multiple all-stars, a roster that should be able to dismantle any team in the world without breaking a sweat. But then you find out the position assignments, and everything changes. Clark, the tournament's leading playmaker, the player averaging 6.4 assists per game across the entire qualifying run, the player who came into this game with a 14.6 efficiency rating per game, which, by the way, was among the highest of any player in the whole tournament. That player was assigned to play the 4, power forward, standing in the corner, waiting for the ball to come to her. Let me paint you a picture of why this is a structural disaster. And I want you to really follow me here, because this is where the coaching decision stops being just questionable and starts being genuinely hard to explain. Chelsea Gray is a pure half-court point guard. She controls tempo. She goes slow, she builds possessions methodically, and she is at her absolute best when the game is playing at her pace. That is her game. It works in the right system. Kelsey Plum is a scoring 2 guard. She needs the ball in her hands to generate real offensive threat. Jackie Young is a wing slasher. She needs space and movement to be dangerous. Dearica Hamby is holding down the paint as the only true big. And then there is Caitlin Clark, a player whose entire offensive identity, every single thing that makes her dangerous, is built around one thing: having the ball, reading the defense from the top of the key, running pick and roll, dictating pace, creating math problems for the defense that have no clean solution. None of that exists when she is standing in the corner watching someone else bring the ball up the court. Here is the brutal reality of that lineup. You have 2 players who need the ball in their hands to do what they do best, Gray and Clark. But there is only one basketball. And in a veteran-first hierarchy, the player with the longer resume is going to control the rock. That is not Clark. So what you get is Gray walking the ball up the floor while Clark stands stationary on the weak side. No movement, no initiation, no pick and roll, no pace. Just a Ferrari parked in a corner while someone drives a station wagon up the court. And fans watching that game could feel it in real time. The comments were pouring in. One person wrote when Clark was not playing, the whole Team USA looked lethargic. Another wrote she needs to start and play point guard. That is the money she brings to the table. And then there was this one, and this one stuck with me. Other than Caitlin Clark, how many of the veteran players were forced to play positions they have never played before? They have forced Caitlin Clark to do this every single game. 5 games now. 5 games, not once. Not an experiment for 1 quarter, 5 consecutive games. The offense reflected it immediately. Instead of pushing pace, instead of running, Spain's bigger, slower, front court, ragged with transition basketball Team USA voluntarily walked into half-court sets against one of the most disciplined defensive shells in international play. The commentators on the broadcast tried to be polite about it. They called it freestyle. They said it looked like the team was figuring things out on the fly. But anyone watching with honest eyes could see what it really was. Isolation basketball born out of a broken system. Kalia Copper putting her head down and driving into a wall of defenders because there was no ball movement to create something easier. Hamby calling for contested post-ups just to generate any kind of offense at all. And Spain did not have to do anything complicated. They just had to let Team USA slow itself down. But here is where the story gets darker. Because playing Clark out of position did not just break the offense. It created a defensive liability so obvious that Spain's coaching staff recognized it within possessions and immediately went to work. When you put a guard at power forward in international basketball, you are essentially sending the opposing team a written invitation. Come post us up. Come exploit this mismatch. We built it for you. Spain had Awa Fam at center, 6'4", physical, experienced in the European game. And now she had a guard 178 centimeters tall asked to body her up in the paint. 15 centimeters of height difference. An eternity in the post. Spain ran that action almost immediately. Feed the ball into Fam. Make Clark guard her one-on-one down low. Generate either a bucket or a foul. It is page 1 of the International Scouting Report. When your opponent gives you a mismatch, you live in it until they take it away. But here is what nobody saw coming. Clark did not back down. She did not ask to switch. She did not play soft coverage and pray the shot misses. She got into a stance, anchored her feet, and studied Fam's dribble rhythm like she was solving a puzzle. And then, in the exact right moment, she reached in and stripped the ball clean. Defensive stop. Forced turnover. Possession back to Team USA. In a situation that her own coaching staff created in a mismatch that should have been automatic points for Spain, Clark bailed them out. With defense. In the post. Analysts have spent years building the narrative that Clark is a defensive liability, that she cannot guard anyone at the next level, that she is a passenger on defense who needs to be hidden, and in the most unfair defensive situation imaginable against a player half a foot taller than her in the low block, she made the play that mattered most. Now let me be honest with you here, because good analysis means acknowledging the full picture. The Spanish center did score on Clark in other possessions during that game. That is real. If you watched the game and you walked away saying Clark struggled defensively at times against Fam, you are not wrong. That happened. Putting a perimeter player in that situation repeatedly is going to produce some ugly results regardless of how hard she competes. But that is exactly the point. The coaching staff created that situation. And then Clark spent the game cleaning up after it. Now, let us talk about what happened on the other end of the floor. Because when Clark was finally allowed to actually touch the ball with intent, the difference was not subtle. It was visible from space. There is a moment early in the game that I keep coming back to. Clark catches the ball near her own baseline. The rest of Team USA is beginning to set up in their half-court offense, getting into their positions, moving at a controlled pace. Normal stuff. Clark is already somewhere else entirely. Her eyes had already scanned the length of the floor before her teammates finished their first step. She sees Paige Bueckers running in transition on the far end. Not walking, not jogging, sprinting. and the window to hit her is open for maybe 1 second before the defense collapses. Clark does not take a dribble to set her feet. She does not pause to calculate. She just throws it. 70 feet, the full length of the court, and it drops right into Bueckers' stride for the easy finish. Watch that play as many times as you need to, because what you are seeing is not athleticism. It is processing speed, the ability to read what is about to happen before it happens, and to execute before the defense even knows there is a decision being made. That is not a skill you can teach. That is a different way of seeing the game. And then there was the shot. You probably know the one. Late in a possession shot clock winding down towards 0, Spain's defense has completely suffocated every passing lane, every cut, every opportunity for movement. The play has broken down entirely. There is nothing there. Clark picks up the ball at half court. She rejects the screen being set for her, takes one hard dribble left. And from somewhere around 7 feet behind the arc deep in logo territory, she steps back and pulls up. The ball goes in. That shot was not the product of a good offensive system. Good offensive systems do not produce wide-open logo threes. That shot was the product of a player who has transcended the system around her to the point where she can manufacture scoring from places that should not be possible. When the coaching structure fails completely, superstars have to create something out of nothing. And nobody on this roster does that from a deeper distance in higher pressure situations more reliably than number 22. Now let us look at the full box score one more time, because this is where it gets really interesting. 7 points, 7 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 1 turnover. Most people look at 7 points and call it an off night. And if you just look at the number in isolation, maybe that is a fair surface-level take. But here is what that number does not tell you. Clark missed several rhythm three-pointers in this game. That is true. You will not find anyone on this channel pretending otherwise. But context matters enormously. Because the shots she was missing were catch-and-shoot threes from the corner after standing still waiting for the ball to arrive. That is the weakest version of Clark as a shooter. She is at her best pulling up off movement, firing from the logo after 2 dribbles of space creation releasing in transition. Standing in the corner waiting for a catch-and-shoot opportunity is asking her to operate in the one scenario where she is least dangerous as a scorer. And then, criticizing her when she misses those shots is like benching someone on a basketball court, handing them a tennis racket, and writing in the post-game report that their shot mechanics looked off. Now here is the number that actually matters, the one that every analyst keeps mentioning without explaining what it really means. 7 assists, 1 turnover. In international basketball, where defensive schemes are organized, physical, and specifically designed to force mistakes, a 7-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio is not just good. It is elite. It means every single time Clark touched the ball with actual intent to initiate offense, she created a mathematical advantage for Team USA. Every single time. And here's the thing. 2 of those assists led to layups that her teammates missed. Open layups. Not contested shots, not difficult finishes. Open layups that rolled out. And a couple of her rhythm threes, the pull-up ones, the logo ones, the ones she actually generates for herself out of her natural game, those went in and out too. Add those back in. Do the simple math. Clark finishes that game with 13 points, somewhere around 9 or 10 assists, and 1 single turnover. Do you think anyone is having this conversation then? Do you think there is a debate about the coaching decisions? Not a chance. The gap between the performance everyone is criticizing and the performance everyone would have celebrated was 2 teammates converting open layups and 2 balls rattling in instead of out. That is it. That is the entire margin. Now, the hardest question, the one this community is most divided on right now. Was this bad coaching or was this intentional? I am going to give you both sides because you deserve an honest answer, not a hot take. Argument 1. This is tactical incompetence. There is no justifiable offensive theory under which your best playmaker spends the game as a stationary decoy, while a slower, half-court-only guard controls the offense against a physically imposing international opponent. The spacing was broken, the pace was wrong, and Team USA turned a game they should have dominated into a dogfight. They barely survived. If Spain had converted even half of their open looks near the basket, we might be having a very different conversation right now. Argument 2. This is a deliberate preparation strategy. If Tibbetts is using these qualifying games to stress test the roster to put players in uncomfortable situations so that they are prepared for the moments in the World Cup when the opponent is even better than Spain, then there is a legitimate coaching philosophy underneath the decisions. You learn something different about your team when everything is going wrong than when everything is going right. That argument is defensible. If this is an experiment, if this is preparation. But if this is just the default system, if this is how they plan to use Clark at the World Cup, when the competition actually matters, then this is a structural problem that needs to be corrected immediately. And here is the last thing I want to address because it came up all over social media and I think it is worth being honest about. The theory that the locker room is fractured, that the veterans resent Clark, that there is some organized effort among teammates to freeze her out. During a dead ball situation in that game, the cameras caught Dearica Hamby, veteran cornerstone of that roster, laughing and joking around and casually putting a hat on Clark's head. It was a small, completely unremarkable moment in the context of a tense championship game, and it matters more than most of the think pieces that have been written about this team's culture. The players are not the problem. The chemistry in that locker room does not look like the problem. The problem is a coaching philosophy that is more comfortable managing veterans than it is unleashing something the sport has never seen before. Caitlin Clark closed out this entire qualifying tournament as the MVP. 14.6 efficiency per game, 52.9% shooting across the tournament, 6.4 assists per game. Tournament MVP, while being played out of position for 5 consecutive games. Read that again. Tournament MVP. Despite the system, not because of it. And this is where I want to step back from the X's and O's for just a second. Because what Clark's story in this tournament is really about underneath all the tactical analysis and the coaching debates and the box score breakdowns is something that most people recognize from their own lives. Most of us have been in a situation where the environment we were placed in was not built for us, where the structure around us was designed around someone else's strengths, someone else's history, someone else's vision of how things should work. And we had a choice: disappear into the system and become invisible, or find every small moment of daylight and make the most of it. Clark stood in the corner without the basketball and turned 7 chances into 7 assists. She was put in an impossible defensive matchup and made the biggest play of the possession. She operated in a broken offensive system and still managed to be the MVP of the whole tournament. The lesson is not that you should be stubborn and fight the system. The lesson is that when you cannot change the environment you are in, you can still control what you do with every single moment you are given inside of it. When the CBA gets signed, when that new collective bargaining agreement finally gets done, and the 2026 season tips off, Clark is not going to be playing power forward. She is not going to be standing in the corner as a stationary decoy. She is going to walk into a building where the entire offensive structure was built for her, where the coaching staff is asking her to push pace on every possession, where every play call is designed to put the ball in her hands and let her make decisions. And based on what she just showed us when she was at her most restricted, the rest of this league has absolutely no idea what is coming. Now, if there was a moment in that game that made you stop and actually say out loud, "Wait, what did she just do?" Go ahead and drop a basketball emoji in the comments right now. I genuinely want to know which play got you. Whether it was the 70-foot pass, the logo 3, or that strip on Fam in the post. Tell me which one hit different for you. And then the bigger question. The one I actually want your honest take on. Do you think this was bad coaching, or do you think it was something more deliberate? There is no wrong answer here. Smart people are on both sides of this. Drop your real take below. We read everything, and we do not delete opinions we disagree with. Every comment you leave helps this analysis reach more basketball fans who deserve to hear the full picture, not just the headline version. If that matters to you, make some noise. Now you know the real story of what happened in that game. But there is one more player in this whole conversation whose journey adds a layer to everything we just talked about that most people have not considered yet. We already broke it down in a full video. It is right there on your screen. Do not sleep on it.